Welcome to the Iowa blog. Today is Thursday. It is the 28th of August, 2025. We're going to continue our presentation of Qatsyr harvest and give Yahweh's perspective on these events. And to pick up where we left off in our last program on this topic, we were sharing place as a gift on the palms of her hands, the sacrificial offering of the memorable man, apportioned as the sacrificial gift for exclusivity in the relationship. The topic that we're covering here happens to be what's known as the adulterous woman. As I've shared on previous programs, this is really not speaking of a woman per se, but instead the remaining remnant that is gathered into Jerusalem on Teruah, September 24th of 2033, which is year 6000 Yah. The purpose is for this remnant of Yisrael to be purged of any inadvertent religious or political guilt, such that the remnant can be witnesses to Dowd's return. He is the groom in this case, and this adulterous woman is going to be symbolically wed to him upon his return. Dowd is the Messiah. He is the Son of God. He is our Savior. He is the chosen one. He is the former and returning king, and this will be his third arrival. And so that is the purpose of this story. It is an interesting story in that it is told in Bamidbar, in the wilderness, Numbers 5. I don't think that prior to me explaining it, anyone has ever understood it. Certainly, there's no example of it ever being practiced by the children of Israel. And so if you have a story that takes up an entire chapter, and there's not a single example of anyone ever understanding the purpose of the story, or of ever responding and executing this plan as it is laid out by Yahweh, and there is no example of either, then what you know is that while God said this through Moshe at this time, it did not pertain to that time. It pertains to right now, and particularly to Teruah, September 24th of 2033, year 6000 Yah. When we progress through Numbers, what we find is God divorcing Israel. Israel becomes so belligerent, so obnoxious, so hostile to Yahweh that he can't stand them anymore. Moshe even quits and asks Yahweh to kill him. It's so bad. So in the midst of these tirades against God, Yahweh has a choice. He can either acknowledge that the human experiment was counterproductive, nothing but aggravating, and bemoan the fact that he even created humankind. That's what he did during the flood. Or he could say, I'm going to come up with a remedy for this. These people are nowhere close to receiving that remedy now, but I'm going to present it now, and we will implement this remedy in due time. And that's what he did. After the episode with the spies, God finally said, that's enough. Everybody over the age of 20, you're done. It's going to be a pile of carcasses. You're dead. Dead to me. I have no interest in you. And the under 20s, he then went into what I would call the speech of speeches. It is the longest uninterrupted I can't call it a diatribe, but narrative from the lips of Yahweh. And he explains how in the end he's going to resolve the people's recalcitrance. And specifically says it's going to be as a result of 2 free will offerings, sacrifices. One by the bull, another by the lamb, and then finally a contribution by a goat. And in telling this story, what he is saying is that when we reach the last days, a bull, the Adamah Parah, that's the story of Numbers 19, after meltdown after meltdown after meltdown on behalf of the belligerent children of Israel, and before even the belligerents of the waters of Meribah in the 20th chapter of Numbers. God just saying, showing just how obnoxious Israelis were and remain. And he then in Numbers 19 tells the story of the Adamah Parah. The Parah is a productive bull. And how that sacrifice is going to be orchestrated on behalf of the adulterous woman in Numbers 5 during Teruah to purge this mortal remnant of Israel that returns 10 days before the arrival of the Messiah and King, Dowd. That is the story we are considering, and this is that woman. Israel presented as overtly religious. Adultery in God's nomenclature has nothing to do with promiscuous sexuality. It is all to do with religious perversions. And what we find in the 15th chapter is something that I think everyone's going to enjoy. I'm going to walk all who are interested through everything that can be known about Numbers 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, so that you know exactly how all of this will fit together, because God presented it all for our edification. And it's a powerful story. And then the prophets, particularly Yeshaya, Isaiah, speak really authoritatively about this, providing the timing for this, the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah on Teruah. Explain who the beneficiaries will be and how it will serve God's people. So that is the story we are considering, and it's important that you understand it in context. So what we can conclude from Numbers 15 is that this adulterous woman that is coveted by a very special man, Dowd, the returning king, it is presented such that it is the entire mortal remnant of Israel who is being purged to witness this marriage, but that one woman representing the entire community is chosen for this particular treatment to become Dowd's bride. Now, the other thing that is interesting about this is that Numbers 15 goes into exquisite detail about who the potential beneficiaries will be here in 8 years with the fulfillment of this prophecy. And what it makes emphatic is that to be among this mortal remnant, you cannot, absolutely cannot be guilty of promoting religion or excusing religion. If you are sharing in social media or in a synagogue, a church, or a mosque, your religiosity, you're preaching it, you're defending it, you are not qualified. You will not be among those who are purged. You will be destroyed upon the fulfillment of Teruah. It is only inadvertent guilt, born out of ignorance, acts of omission rather than commission, that are salvageable on this day. And that will be true of both Yehudim, Israelites, and also of Goyim. So it's important that you know if you're going to participate at all, you're going to have to disavow religion prior to that time and disavow politics as well. And then God goes on to say, again, decisively, that those who remain overtly and aggressively religious, that for them they will be exterminated. As we move into this time post-wedding, 5 days later, we enter the millennial celebration of Sukkah, where God restores the earth. Well, actually, prior to that time, on Teruah is when he begins to terraform the planet, so that it represents the conditions enjoyed in Eden. And it is on Sukkah that we return and are allowed back in. That is what's at stake. And it's important that you know who qualifies, how you go about being able to participate in all of this. And we even find in that narrative something really surprising. That whole story about God asking people to stone the man picking up sticks on the Sabbath, as if God is a cosmic assassin. When viewed out of context, it makes no sense at all. But in context, you're going to understand as we presented exactly who that individual is. And the fact is that what they're doing is not picking up sticks. They're uprooting trees, and not any tree. They're uprooting the trees associated with the ram and the bull. The tree of lives, which Dowd provided on Pesach, and the tree of knowledge and of good and evil, and you can see them sitting above me, beside me, all around me, the 35 books available at yadayah.com, all free for your edification, because without those books, you wouldn't know where to find the tree of lives. Just as without Yada reflecting Dowd's brilliance, you wouldn't recognize the source of the tree of lives, who is Dowd David. So this is all part of an integrated story. And one of the most amazing things too, and we'll get to this in due time, that chapter ends by revealing that the Tisit had nothing to do with the tassel. It wasn't even supposed to be seen. It was a flower. Turns out the blue flower is of the flax. The flax being the source for the threads that would be used to make it, but also the threads for garments, particularly those worn by the priest in linen. It is going to resolve all of this. That's going to be Dowd. It's going to act as the high priest, and Elia is going to act as the priest also on Teruah, and he is the priest in this story of the adulterous woman. He is also the priest in the story of the Adamah Parah, and that he will be wearing linen. But that blue flower announces the arrival of the first month of the year, Abib, which is when Chag Matzah is celebrated. That's what Dowd fulfilled to bring us life and perfection through Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim. And it was a blue flower not to be worn to show off one's religiosity. This blue flower was to be hidden inside of the hem to remind the wearer that there was a remedy and that they needed to look forward to what Dowd would accomplish on Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim because of that blue flowering flax. And so we will get to all of this and make perfect sense of things that have been so mysterious to so many for so long, because these are all prophetic texts that speak to our situation and the situation of God's people at this very moment in time. A moment when we have no time left for nonsense. So Yahweh announces in Bamidbar in the wilderness, Numbers 5, place a gift. Nathan, then offer something being bestowed on the palms of her hands. This is that woman whom the preceding chapters have already told us represents all Yisrael, and her guilt is for having been religious. This is the sacrificial offering. This is the mincha, the gift bestowed and apportioned as a present from the memorable man. In this case, the memorable man is not the most memorable of men. That would be God's chosen one, his beloved son, our Messiah and King, Dowd. No, this memorable man, Zacharon, is the one who serves him, who reflects his light. It is the one who is actually offering this very sacrifice that will be put in her hands to purge her of her guilt. The memorable man is from Zakar. Zakar means to recall, and it is descriptive of a human male. Zacharon, with the own ending, means all things pertaining to this memorable man. And he is the one who is apportioned as the sacrificial gift. And it is for Kina. Kina. Exclusivity in the relationship. And for those who say, well, I mean, you only get one wife. She must have been slutting around. The resolution is for exclusivity in the relationship. That sounds like monogamy to me. Hell no. Read things in context. God denounced Israel's propensity to be religious as the introduction to all of this. The relationship that Israel has cheated on for the past 3,450 years is the covenant relationship with Yahweh. And Dowd wants his bride back. Yahweh wants his bride back. And for Yisrael to return, she has to stop cheating on God. There'll be no more Hashem. There'll be no more G-D. There'll be no more rabbinic rubbish. And when I say rabbinic rubbish, I have in my feed to Facebook, I have some 20 or so testimonials from rabbis that are presented as videos every day, and they are repulsive. The nonsense that rabbis spew out is so counter to the Torah, so counter to Yahweh, so utterly insane, so ridiculous, they should be ashamed. And it is that which must go for there to be exclusivity in this relationship. And in the hand of the one acting in the role of priest, that would be Elia at this time. That is why he is returning. They will choose to have the waters of vexing and provoking bitterness, of the curse of harmful consequences. Are you familiar with the waters of bitterness? You should be. So Numbers 20. It is from Mar here. It's Mayim Mar. It's the waters of Meribah. And a host of catastrophic confrontations with Yahweh. The children of Israel went full tilt off the pasture, off the planet at Meribah. And God, as I said, gave up. It's that embitterness, that grievous, disagreeable, and toxic nature that's so pungent and so disgusting and revolting towards the relationship, and so utterly harmful to being in God's presence that must be purged. Now, if you recall, Elia was known for one thing. One thing. He was really good at it, though. And that is, he's the man who, with great humor and sarcasm, confronted the propensity of Israel to be religious and political. He criticized and condemned the king and queen of Israel and the political establishment, and then assailed the prophets of Baal, the Lord, and Asherah, the queen of heaven and mother of God, a very cult that became Christianity. This is what he's famous for. And of course, in the midst of that, there is the roasting of a bull with copious amounts of water, and then ash with the flames being ignited by Yahweh himself. It is a dress rehearsal for the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah on Teruah that will have this same effect. And when we read Numbers 5, and this was Numbers 5:18, what we need to appreciate is that the entirety of this remaining mortal remnant of Yisrael, who are being purged by the Adamah Parah, with Elia orchestrating on Teruah in year 6000, represents the entirety of that remnant, all chosen by Yahweh and brought into Yisrael, flown into Jerusalem from all around the world, because these are the remnant of Jews who are not overtly religious or political. There's another chariot that'll take those who are still overtly religious and political, conspiratorial, and carry them to their death. And it is on this day that the community is purged to be in the audience to attend the great homecoming of Dowd. And one of those representatives of Yisrael is going to be this particular woman. Dowd is going to have his bride. So once again, we are being reminded that the cure for Yisrael and the means she has come to embrace at this moment is that she must come clean to receive the Messiah, to be in God's presence as they both return. 6:22 p.m., sunset in Jerusalem, the 2nd of October, 2033. And for that to occur, they must receive the gift of the Adamah Parah. Adamah meaning red, meaning man. It is feminine here because it is identifying Parah. Parah is par is a bull. With the ending, it is a productive bull. And so this is the bloody red man who is serving as a productive bull on Teruah. This is Numbers 19 coming to the rescue of Numbers 5. And so that is the gift that makes this possible. And this is God's solution. Rather than give up on the human experience and just destroy the planet, Yahweh came up with this plan, and it involves the bull, the goat, who is Elia, and the ram, who is our returning king, Dowd, who is served as the lamb for Passover and his fulfillment of it in his second of 3 lives. This is God's story. Those are the characters in God's story, and he's telling his story the way that he intends to fulfill the remaining Moed Mikre. This is the symbols, these are the symbols that he chose in this regard. And he's gone into great detail to explain all of them. So he is being apportioned, this is that bull, is being apportioned to Yisrael to retain exclusivity in the relationship, providing reconciliation. In fact, the reconciliation is complete. What we find, though, and it's a really interesting passage in Numbers 15 that explains this, that while Dowd's sacrifice on Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, particularly on Matzah, removed all guilt, religious guilt, political guilt, all guilt. So long as we stop being religious and become part of the covenant and attend Chag Matzah as God intended and meet the conditions of the covenant, all guilt, past, present, and future, is removed from us. It is the way that we are perfected, if you will. So we are not guilty. Is probably a better way to say it. With the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, the bull, the par, that is not the case. The par can only purge inadvertent guilt, acts of omission rather than commission. And so this is being done for a reason at this point. The remnant that Yahweh has brought into Israel for the greatest show on earth, this transition from Teruah through Sukkah in year 6000 Yah 2033. They will have known Yahweh for anywhere between an hour and 12 hours. They'll know very little of the covenant, its terms and conditions. They will not understand, nor will have they ever capitalized upon Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim to become perfected and immortal. They are not covenant. And the reason that it is this way, and that my sacrifice does not have the overwhelming purging effect that Dowd's does, is that everyone who has chosen to capitalize on what Dowd as our Messiah and Savior has done by fulfilling Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim has made an informed decision. They've come to know the 5 conditions of the covenant. They've come to understand how the 5 benefits of the covenant are delivered by Dowd's fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim. They understand what each of the 12 Moed Mikre represent. They have come to know and love Yahweh's name. They are Torah observant. And as a result of these things, they have come to know, understand, and ultimately respond to what God is offering. It is an entire process. And over that process, they've gone one step further. They have all engaged, working on behalf of Yahweh and on behalf of his family to share the message. So this is a conscious decision that they have made. Whereas those who will benefit from the Adamah Parah, they have been in this position for anywhere from 1 hour to 12 hours, and their only qualification has been that their crimes were inadvertent. They were deceived as opposed to deceivers. They were misled as opposed to misleading. And therefore, to grant them immortality such that they could be part of the heavenly community for all time would be insane of God. And God doesn't do insane things. And so what he does is said, I'm going to give you a complete cleansing so that you can enter the millennial celebration of the Shabbat with me and with your king, Dowd. And from that point on, it is in your interest, whether you be Goyim or Yehudim, to learn the conditions of the covenant, to learn the importance of the Moed Mikre, to learn to respect Dowd and to respect Yahweh in his name. And there's going to be members of the covenant family who are going to be there to provide this education. And there will be many, both Goyim and Yehudim, who make that decision and who, because they process this information in an intelligent way, become covenant and become immortal. While those who go astray, if it's inadvertent, there is a remedy. It's actually Elia that provides that remedy. And if they become part of a community where they're promoting their bad decisions, well, they're exterminated. So that is the process, and you can see they are slightly different. So it is in your interest to accept the terms and conditions of the covenant and capitalize on Yahweh's invitations to meet with him 7 times a year during these Moed Mikre, understanding what is being delivered and offered through them, so that you have a opportunity to be part of the Shabuwa harvest, or at the very least, if you're one of those who survives the time of trouble, the Teruah gleaning, such that you are immortal. That would be in your best interest. This solution is not to make anyone immortal, but it is to perfect the bride so that she can witness Yahweh's return, because this is taking place now 10 days before, in terms of the communal cleansing, the wedding, which will take place on Kippurim. So this Adamah Parah is being apportioned to Yisrael. And it's to retain exclusivity in this relationship agreement. If you're looking for, we're not in a cited text at this point. This is insights to help explain it. It is the water that is mixed with ash as a gift from the sacrificial offering that will be poured over the palms of her hands. Water mixed with ash. Over the palms of her hands. While Yahweh has brought the pungent and bitter waters of Meribah with her, she will have that all washed away. We are even told that the sacrificial offering will come by way of a zikaron, a memorable man. And while Moshe and Dowd were by far the most important and indeed the most memorable, Dowd is the bridegroom and Moshe is retired. So this fellow, well, he's Yada. He is the third and final Zeroah, the last witness. He is the herald of the king. He is the Adamah Parah. He's the bull. Through the sacrifice of the red heifer, the curse of the harmful consequences will be lifted from Israel, and on wedding day for this stand-in who serves as Dowd's bride. Now, the one acting in the role of priest, this is now returning to the cited text, Rich, the one acting in the role of priest will have her swear an oath and make a solemn promise to earnestly affirm the truth regarding herself at this moment in time. And he will say to the woman, if a person has not lain with you, and if you have not gone astray, turning away to that which is filthy and defiled under your individual person, you are released, you're pardoned, you're innocent, you're free from the waters of vexing and provoking bitterness, of the curse of harmful consequences. 5:19. So as we examine this, again, the one who is serving in the role of priest will be Elia. He will serve in the role of priest both as he officiates the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah on the Temple Mount on Teruah before a replica of the tent of the restoring witness, facing therefore towards Mount Olives. On that day, when Yahweh will ignite the flames, he will release the torrent of water from underneath the Temple Mount, and he will purge this mortal remnant of Israel. And then when we get to the wedding and we have a singular woman serving as Dowd's bride, then she will receive this treatment with Elia again, serving in the role of the priest, accompanying the bride, while now 10 days later, Yada, the bull who was sacrificed, will serve as Dowd's best man at his right side. So the one acting in the role of priest, Elia, will have her swear an oath, make a promise, and to earnestly affirm the truth regarding herself at this moment. So at this point, she just needs to come clean. Just say, this is what she's had now 10 days to get her act together. So, I can tell you both that Elia is going to be very attentive at this point. In fact, it actually talks about Elias working with this woman at this moment and purging her of her guilt. So she's going to be able to make a confession at this moment and say, I'm not guilty. Whatever mistakes I've made in the past, they're in the past. And so he will say to the woman, if a person has not lain with you, and if you have not gone astray, turning away to that which is filthy and defiled. Yahweh uses an interesting narrative throughout Numbers 15 to describe the difference between inadvertent and deliberate guilt. And the difference is both words speak of turning away. One is to be misled, and the other is to mislead. So in this case, if you have not gone astray, turning away, and the fact is she will have been purged of that. And she wouldn't be here if she had been among those who was misleading. And to mislead is filthy and it's defiled. So what we're being told is exactly what I've shared. Because of the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, and because of this special treatment, this one individual who will be Dowd's bride, representing this wedding on Yom Kippurim, that we're told that she has been released, she has been pardoned, she is seen as innocent, she is free from guilt. She is free of the waters of vexing and provoking bitterness. She has been distanced from and resolved for the horrendous rebellion that was perpetrated by Israel against Yahweh during the Exodus in the episode called The Waters of Meribah. That's what's happening here. So Yahweh is using the analogy of a troubled marriage to present the state of affairs between Dowd and Israel at the present. In the book of Hosea, Yahweh specifically asks Hosea to marry Gomer, who is a religious prostitute, because Yahweh wanted his people to understand the reason he was divorcing them had nothing to do with sexuality and all to do with religiosity. And therefore, the separation, the notice of divorce offered from Yahweh to Israel said that because you are religious, you are like Gomer, I am divorcing you. And you have continued to be religious all the way from the beginning of the Exodus. And he then says, I will not return to you, which means God has separated himself from Israel. He says, I'm even going to heaven. I'm going to be apart from you. I'm not going to be coming to help you. And I will not return to you until you return to me. And Israel has not done that. So that is the idea that is being presented here through Hosea. And we'll have to recognize that Yahweh is not going to remarry the woman that he has divorced in Israel. And so he is arranging for his beloved son to marry Israel, and his son wants his woman back. So just as was the case with Hosea, this is something which must be resolved prior to Yahweh returning with Dowd, for the family reunion on Kippurim and for this wedding to occur. Therefore, in this prophetic statement, and really all of Numbers is prophetic, it has almost nothing to do with the Exodus and that time. It has all to do with us and our time. So in this prophetic statement, Israel is being asked to renew her wedding vows, to be, that wedding vows is kind of a misnomer in a way. There are no wedding vows in the Torah, but to restate her desire to engage in a relationship with Yahweh and to appreciate all that Dowd has done to purge the people of their guilt and to provide an extension of life. So the truth is that they're ready for a change. And since it is obvious that she is filthy as a pig in a pungent sty, the curse of religious indoctrination remains, and therefore it is being removed in this process. And understand, by being religious, she is pungent. Had she promoted religion, there's nothing God could have done for her. So by contrast, branded and stigmatized as a sign of ownership by another, you having gone astray under your person, you are polluted and unclean. A person being offered to you as a gift with her horizontal apart from your individual man. All right. God's still using the metaphor of a woman in a relationship with a man, a marriage relationship, to convey his frustration with his people, just as he did in the book of Hosea. It is a metaphor. So he is saying that Israel is branded, stigmatized, because they're owned by another, and that one is Judaism. Judaism is considered inseparable from being Jewish by the vast preponderance of Jews, and that is their stigma. And in this case, those who are gathered here had gone astray. They did so under another person's influence, the rabbis, and they were polluted and unclean because of that muck that came out of the rabbis' mouths. Now, a person is being offered to you as a gift, is what God says. And that man is capable of setting you apart from your prior religious relationship. Therefore, religion is stigmatizing. It is a sign that one soul is owned and controlled by another, and that other is not God. Now, I've considered a wealth of things over the years, but I've never thought it would come down to this, to being a whore sanitizer. And yet, as we read the effect of the red heifer's ashes when mixed with the water on the remnant of Israel, it has become obvious that that was God's intent. And it's funny in a way. The very goy the Israelites will want to dismiss for being filthy and foul-mouthed will be the only effective means of cleansing them. Clearly, with the Teruah becoming the Adamah Parah, the productive bloody red man on the ground, a person is being offered as a gift to reconcile God's wayward people, even if she, the man and the heifer, is horizontal at this time. And it is true that I will be struck down by Hasatan's minions, recognizing that the Torahless one, who is going to be the great betrayer of Israel and the adversary of his people, is the copper confabulator, Donald Trump. As his health and his dementia issues continue to plague him, it's hard to imagine how Hasatan is going to keep him alive over the next 8 years. And I didn't say upright because in the book of Daniel, we are told by, this would be Gabriel, who is Dowd, that he is going to be distinguished because, well, in addition to having that goatish comb-over hair and having a gargantuan ego, this man's going to have a flashy set of wheels. It's going to be in a wheelchair, and that wheelchair is going to be as gaudy as the Oval Office currently is, all gold-plated and the like. But still, that is the individual that is going to coordinate the strike of my physical body. My bashar will be offered at this time in this way, just as Dowd allowed the beast of Rome to beat him and crucify him as he offered his physical body. I will do the same on Teruah. And for that to occur, both of us have to release the protective nature of the Malach around us, which we will. He did, I will. Now, it's essential that Israel not only admit that they have gone astray, but also acknowledge their newfound commitment to the truth. The one acting in, this is again returning to Yahweh's statement, Rich, the one acting in the role of priest will have the woman swear an oath and make a solemn promise to earnestly affirm the truth regarding herself at this moment of time by way of Shabuwa, the promise of 7, for the curse of Allah. The one acting in the role of priest should say to the woman, Yahweh wants to offer the gift for you. And this is regarding the curse of Allah and regarding Shabuwa, the promise of 7, in the midst of your family. Yahweh is dramatically offering to give with ongoing implications such that pursuant to your procreative power, you will give birth and your womb will swell. Numbers 5:21. As we like to say in this program, there is a lot to unpack in that statement. All right, so again, the one acting in the role of priest is Elia. He was returned for this role and for the role of being the master of ceremonies over the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah. This is something he alone had practiced, and he is the foremost orator in the world at exposing and condemning religion and politics while overseeing and orchestrating the sacrifice of a bull with copious amounts of water and fire that are going to replicate this situation. So that's why he was chosen for this role. That's why he is announced as one of the 2 witnesses. So the one acting in the role of priest, Elia, shall have the woman swear an oath and make a solemn promise to earnestly affirm the truth regarding herself at this moment in time. So she will have been counseled. She needs to know what the truth is, what it is that has put her in this wonderful and unique and special place. And one of the things she's going to discuss is that she's here by way of Shabuwa, the promise of 7, and that it is to cure the curse of Allah. Now, what this means is that Shabuwa is the next harvest. Those who come to appreciate the terms and conditions of the covenant and accept them, respond to them, and who accept Yahweh's invitations to attend the Moed Mikre, particularly Chag Matzah, Pesach Matzah, and Bikurim, and know why Dowd fulfilled these and what the benefits are going to be prepared for participation in the Shabuwa harvest. There are 2 very important Shabuas. The first of those is the 22nd of May of 2026, just 10 months from now. And the second is the 11th of June in 2027. Both, of course, are on a Shabbat. Shabuwa is based upon Shabbat, the promise of the Shabbat, in addition to the promise of 7. It is at that moment that the curse of Allah is going to be unleashed upon Israel. The fact that there are 2 of these Shabuwa to consider, both of which are Shabuwa, both of which occur on a Shabbat. The first, May 22nd of 2026, provides a full 7 years for the time of Jacob's troubles, which is spoken about in numerous places being a duration of 7 years. It is likely that Shabuwa is the one, and it is also a Shabbat, that is earmarked for the divestiture of Israel's heart in the so-called 2-state solution to create a so-called Palestinian state that leaves Israel vulnerable to attack. And this will be a state carved out of Israel's heart that is given to the devotees of Allah. And those devotees of Allah are going to immediately use it to attack Israel. And so it is likely that then the attack on Israel, which will be Al-Aqsa Flood 2.0, which will be not twice as big as October 11th, but will be 1,000 times worse, is going to occur on that next Shabuwa. And that God's going to want his family kept out of that terrible time. And therefore, we're expecting the Shabuwa harvest to occur on July 11th of 2027, which will be at coterminous with Al-Aqsa Flood 2.0, which Israel did not know how to stop the first time, nor even how to deal with in its aftermath. And Israel will be as dysfunctional in stopping the second one as they were the first, which will be much worse, of course, because the attack's not going to come from one place, but the curse of Allah is going to come from inside the heart of Israel with the 2 states and also from surrounding Israel. There'll be millions of jihadists this time, not thousands of them. It's 1,000 to 1. So that is what's being talked about here, and why is a reference to Shabuwa, because it began this time of troubles, and it is on Teruah that the time of troubles comes to a close. That those attackers that began on Shabuwa will be stymied and even incinerated on Teruah, and Yahweh is going to restore the earth at this time. Now, there's another aspect to this, and that is Shabuwa is the promise of the Shabbat. And it is on the Shabbat of Shabuwa, whether it's May 22nd, which is on a Friday evening, Saturday, or July 11th, also Friday evening and a Saturday. And again on a Shabbat of the Friday evening and Saturday of the 23rd and 24th of September, when we're dealing with Teruah, that all this is going to happen. She's going to be there on a Shabbat. And she is there because of the promise of 7. In just 15 days after the wedding to Dowd on Kippurim, 10 days after Teruah, and 5 days after that, with the entry into the garden, Sukkah, where those tents are going to be wedding booths, if you will, time of the honeymoon, that she is invited to experience the ultimate promise of 7 and enter the final and 7th millennia of man, once estranged from the garden, but now brought back into the garden. And of course, at this point, the curse of Allah is no more. So the one acting as the priest, again, Elia, should say to the woman. Now, in Hebrew, Isha is a very interesting term. It is very often rendered wife at this time, but there is no Hebrew word for wife. Isha is simply the word for feminine individual or woman. Ish meaning man, Isha meaning woman. It has the ending that makes Ish feminine. But the other thing that's interesting is that Isha is also the Hebrew word for fire. And we're constantly told during the Moed Mikre, we need to come in presence of, in the presence of, and approach this fire. Now, people are always confused by this, but let me explain it. Fire is transformative. We as physical mortal beings decay. We are corrupt. We are imperfect. We decay. We are limited to very short lives on this planet and cannot leave it. Well, we can go to the moon, but big deal. We're still in the Earth's atmosphere. So that's it. To be liberated in space and time, to be perfected, to be empowered, to be enriched, we have to be transformed from decaying matter into light and energy. What does the fire do? Does the fire not burn decaying organic matter and turn it into light and energy? That's the very reason that we're encouraged to walk into the presence of the Isha and be transformed. So in this case, the one acting in the role of priest should say to the woman, Yahweh wants to offer the gift for you. Now, while in this particular case, the gift is the Adamah Parah, the gift is this bull, this par, yada. The fact of the matter is that sacrifice has no value whatsoever, just like Dowd's sacrifice as the lamb on Passover has no value unless Yahweh capitalizes upon it miraculously, which is why in Numbers 15, we're told repeatedly that Yahweh will engage Paleh. He's going to engage wonderfully, miraculously, to make these sacrifices of the bull and the ram marvelously and wonderfully, miraculously beneficial for God's people. And so God is the one who is actually presenting this gift. Without him bestowing it, it has no value. And in this case, this was written in the Jusiv, which is the third person expression of volition. This is what God wants to do. Yahweh wants to offer his people this gift because it reconciles their relationship. It makes them family again. And the gift he's offering in this particular case is my willingness to sacrifice my Bashar body. Now, to be fair, sacrificing the Bashar body, as was the case with Dowd when he fulfilled Passover, ain't no fun while it's happening. You know, the body has pain receptors and it's going to hurt like hell. But that body is a liability. We're looking to get rid of it and soar as a energy light-based being with our nephesh soul surrounded by God's light and energy as opposed to encumbered by a physical body. And so it is something we're very willing to give up because it has no value to us and is actually a burden going forward. Now, as it relates to this, again, the curse of Allah. When I first was introduced to Yahweh, now 24 years ago, it was on, of course, a Teruah. And on that day, he asked me to expose and condemn Islam, the curse of Allah. I knew nothing about Islam other than the week prior, I had witnessed 9/11, and I knew something was dreadfully wrong. But I had no expertise. But Yahweh and I made an arrangement where we would work together, and a book called Prophet of Doom was the result. First, Tea with Terrorists, where I met with Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Islamic Jihad and Hezbollah, and thereafter Prophet of Doom, which is the most comprehensive analysis of the Quranic scriptures reorganized chronologically and put into the context of Muhammad's life ever written, at least up to that point. And that's where we began. So this bull is the right one to remove the curse of Allah. And subsequently, when Israel was attacked by the curse of Allah again on October 7th in 2023, I recall knowing that implicitly that the only solution for Israel at the time was a combination of Prophet of Doom and Yahweh. They needed to rely on Yahweh and come to understand the actual enemy was not Hamas, but in fact Islam, by reading Prophet of Doom. But I had not done to Prophet of Doom what I had done to every other book, which was to rewrite it multiple times, because the more you live around Yahweh, the more you study his words, the more you think, the more you learn. And I was in a much better position, of course, to share what I had learned than I was 24 years ago prior to this. So 23 at that time. And so I recall telling Yahweh, I'd rather just finish Coming Home, Volume 3 that I was working on. That's fun. It's edifying. It's beneficial to the family. Let's just do that. And can we just let Prophet of Doom do its thing, even though it's really old and dated? And I always told God, I don't really want to go back there. It's very hellish to deal with Muhammad and Allah. They are really disgusting. And of course, Yahweh's response, those who have been with me these many years know, was very succinct. I have taken care of you. Now you take care of my people. And so there we have it. I rewrote Prophet of Doom. One volume became 5 volumes. It's now 4,200 pages. And it is the most complete, well-documented, contextual, and chronological depiction of the Quran infused with Muhammad's life ever written. It completely disgorges the curse of Allah for all who read it. And it is Allah on this day that will have caused the very death of the Adamah Parah. Donald Trump, as the Torahless one, is in fact going to be responsible for orchestrating the death of my body. And he is in league with Muslims. It is Muslims who have been attacking Israel so viciously up to this point. And so it is very much the curse of Allah that we're dealing with at this moment, and it will be resolved in this very moment. And it is all based on the promise of the Shabbat and 7. And now she stands in the midst of her family, the family of Yisrael. And it says Yahweh is dramatically offering to give with ongoing implications. Now, this is the second mention of gift, and we're told this time, Wookie is quite insistent that he has the opportunity to come up, but Wookie loves, as you probably know, to drink from my cup. And he's quite disappointed with me at this point. Sorry, Wook, I didn't mean to disappoint you, pal. Oh, you're gonna read the citation? He's now watching himself, and I've got 2 monitors here, so I can see what we've got going, and Wookie is checking himself out in these monitors. So Yahweh is dramatically offering to you. This is the second time we have seen Nathan. He is bestowing. This is written in the call infinitive, which is a verbal noun intensifying the action as it plays out over time. That which is pursuant to your procreative power. God is saying, I'm going to open the womb again. We're going to have a family. And this mortal remnant that has been brought into Jerusalem and that has now been purged and that now is being wed to my beloved son, Dowd. Well, we're going to be productive. we're going to celebrate all that there is about family and raising children and opening your womb so that it will swell. This is about a woman who has been barren in terms of the covenant relationship, giving birth and having that womb open up again and be productive and bearing the very children of God who will populate eternity. Isn't that marvelous? So speaking of surprises, I, of course, did not expect when I was dealing with this the first time to see Shabuwa or Allah in this story of what's called the adulterous woman. By mentioning Shabuwa, Yahweh is drawing his people's attention to the Teruah and to the Parah, the fruitful one cultivating the harvest. He is reminding them that because they missed it, they were left to endure the curse of Allah. And that is the fact. If you miss the Shabuwa harvest, you're going to endure Yisrael, the curse of Allah, the worst he can possibly bring. 7 years of terror and torment at the hands of sadistic and demonic Muslims. The time of Israel's troubles is Allah's time to slander, abuse, plunder, abduct, and kill Jews. His musings on the matter can be found, of course, in Ezekiel, which is Satan's autobiography. And there it is where Satan brags about raping Jewish girls. I bet you don't know that there are 2 chapters in Ezekiel that are devoted entirely to gross, enormously grotesque rape scenes, just as Allah's minions do to Jews today, just as they're doing throughout Europe today. Well, Ezekiel is explicit as Allah's autobiography on raping Jews. But it also contains 25 very sadistic ways, utterly repulsive ways to kill Jewish men. It is a harbinger of what we watched on October 7th. Now, should you not concur with my conclusions, well, then I would encourage you to read the 3 volumes of Babel and see if you don't agree then. I think the case is irrefutable. Now, Yahweh's parting statement is typically mistranslated. I say this because it opens with God wanting to offer Israel a gift, something to salve the wounds inflicted by Allah, which will have been 7 years of brutality up to this point. And in this case, as a result of the red heifer sacrifice, the barren woman has been Israel, the nation of stillborn children, too corrupted by religion to survive. But she's going to give birth to healthy offspring once again. So the gift is swelling wombs and a return to childbearing in accordance with God's intent through the covenant all along. God's going to have the family he's always wanted. After all, that's the point in bringing Dowd back, is it not? If it is the whole purpose of having a time together where we can celebrate the relationship of the covenant exactly as God intended. I think this is a marvelous time for us to conclude this program. I enjoy sharing these insights with you. I think that stories like this being Numbers 5, are seen prophetically for the first time, understood for the first time, made vital in our understanding and appreciation of Yahweh and his beloved son, Dowd, at this time. So here from the library studio of the Yahweh blog, I wish you a wonderful day. May Yah bless.